Alright guys, and welcome back to another episode of SafetyDang TV. Today's video is the timing belt and water pump video for the Toyota Tacoma V6 3.4 liter. Basically, you're going to drain your radiator. While it's draining, you're going to go ahead and remove your radiator hoses. When you take off the top hose, you're going to want to point it upward so that the fluid will go down. And if your radiator hose is stuck, you might want to break it loose with a pair of pliers. And once you break it loose, the radiator hose should come out very easily. After you do that, you're going to want to remove your fan shroud. It's held on by 4 bolts. Once you remove those bolts, there is an inner lower portion of your fan shroud that you have to remove. It's held on by 2 clips that you just push off with a flathead screwdriver. And once it's unclipped, you're going to go ahead and carefully remove that from your vehicle, making sure not to dent your radiator as you're doing that. There's also a clip on the lower portion of your fan shroud that you need to unclip and remove one of the hoses as well. The next thing you're going to remove is your fan. It's held on by 4 bolts. It's hard to get to with any, well, it's impossible to get to with any socket, so you're going to use a wrench. I had one of those socket, or not a socket wrench, but ratcheting wrenches, so it worked out pretty well. Remove the rest of your lower radiator hoses. Make sure to put something under it because it will leak out a little bit of fluid. These are the transmission fluid lines. The color is red, and then this is the last radiator hose that you need to remove. Your radiator itself is held in place by 4 bolts, 2 of which are hidden behind the grill. The other 2 are hidden behind your bumper. I had an aftermarket bumper, so I didn't have any problem getting to them. Then go ahead and remove your radiator carefully. Make sure not to dent anything. Here we have a special tool that we use. You could buy one or make one. Insert your size 19 and put your special tool against the frame on the driver's side and use your torque wrench or breaker bar to break loose the pulley bolt. Pulley bolt is held in about 200 or more pounds, so it's going to take a bit of force to break it loose. Then go ahead and start loosening your pulleys for the belt tensioners.
There, now it's loose. Probably take it off.
Once it's loose, you could just push it down and pop off those top pulleys out, and the belts will come out with it. And then go ahead and loosen the pulley located on your alternator.
It's next to it. It's behind it.
There is one in front and one in the back that you have to loosen in order to move your alternator.
Turn with your hand. You can't get it out.
And there is another bolt next to your dipstick that you have to remove. So that's holding your alternator in place. So once you break that loose, you could push your belt down and it'll give you enough slack to remove your belt.
So pull that thing off. Got it?
Yeah. Go ahead and loosen the lower pulley and release the tensioner a bit, and then it should pop right off. So this is a bad belt, and once you get the belts off, you're gonna go ahead and try to get to your timing belt. It's located behind the timing cover. Go ahead and remove all those bolts. Make sure not to lose them. The best thing to do would be to screw them back in. There's a bunch of clips that are clipped onto this plastic thing, so just make sure to unclip those and remember where they go. If not, you can rewatch the video to find out where they are. There's also a little clip on the inner side of your timing cover. Just use a pair of needle nose pliers and pinch it and pop it out. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is to make sure your markings are at TDC, top dead center. So you're going to have to rotate your whole timing belt around until you reach TDC. Using the ratchet method on your camshafts, it tends to kick over. So I would highly recommend either making the special service tool or buying one, because without it, it makes this job very difficult. And you see here that we're already having a hard time even with the tool. So once you get to TDC, check everything, make sure it's on there correctly. If you need to, you can mark the belt and transfer it over to your new belt, unless you bought a Toyota belt. Go ahead and remove your pulley, and then remove the other portion that's covering up your water pump. There's a couple more brackets that you need to remove those as well, and then it should come right out. If the stud comes out, don't worry about the stud, just go ahead and screw it back in so you know where it is.
Should take it out.
There's also a lower plastic piece that covers the crankshaft that you have to remove, and then there's also a wire holder that's bolted in with 2 bolts. There's also a bracket that holds in the AC pump. The bracket is blocked by the pump, so you have to remove the pump first, then you remove the bracket. And removing of the bracket exposes the belt tensioner for your timing belt. Once you take out the tensioner, you go ahead and vise that and put the pin in there so you can hold it down. And then once you do that, you go ahead and remove your belt. It should come right out. Go ahead and remove your water pump after that. And looking at my water pump, you could tell that it's gone bad. There's some leaking on the side of it. Right now, my truck has about 90,000 miles, which isn't so bad. So it was going.
Freaking drain or something.
There's 3 other bolts that are kind of hidden, so make sure you get all the bolts before you pull anything off. And it will leak when you pull it off, and this will expose your thermostat as well. There is also a hose that you need to remove, shown on the side, and your dipstick, you need to move it over as well. Once you remove your water pump, go ahead and scrape off all the gaskets and debris that is on there, and install your new water pump. For my truck, we did put gray sealant. You don't have to, but since my truck was already down, I went ahead and did it. Install your new water pump, and you got to make sure that there's a little hole at the top. It has to be pointed to the top on your thermostat. Make sure everything's lined up. Your right cam is on your passenger side. Your left cam is on your driver's side. So just keep note of that. It also says it on the cams itself. There's a little L and R on your cams. And then once you get around the top 2, make sure the lines on your belt line up with the camshafts. And if you're having trouble putting on the belt, a simple trick is to rotate your lower crankshaft so that the belt lines up with the notch. It might not be TDC when you put the belt on, but once you rotate the belt around, the timing belt around, it'll line up perfectly. Then you pull out your pin, and everything should be tight. When you put in that washer, make sure the round side is pointing on the inside and the flat side is out towards your pulley, or you can cause damage to your belt. Put your pulley back on, put the new bolt back in, because Toyota says that that bolt is a non-reusable belt. As you can see here, I'm rotating the belt around so that everything will line up once you go back to TDC. See here, it's at 0 on the pulley, and it's at 0 on the camshafts, or TDC on the camshafts. Here you can see the actual footage of the bracket that I didn't show you earlier. Here's the bracket, you gotta screw it in. There's also the power steering on the left right there. So there's a total of 5 bolts holding in that bracket, 4 of which seen here, and then 1 on the side, on the front side. The longer bolts do go on top, and the shorter bolts do go on the bottom, so make sure you remember that. make sure to torque them down. I don't know what the torque specs are off the top of my head. They are in the factory service manual if you need them. Then screw in that wire holder again. Plastic pieces are screwed back on, and all the other parts are screwed back on. Here you saw that my pulley's missing. That was because I was cleaning it, so don't worry about that part. And then you make sure you clip all your clips back onto your timing cover, and then bolt it back up. Basically, this video is pretty straightforward. Just watch it a couple times, and you should be able to put your timing belt on and your water pump in. Alright, this is your AC pump. It's going to mount onto the bracket, and then you're going to screw it on. It's held on by 4 bolts. You have to make sure to put the bolts in first. And then this is one of the tensioners that you have to put back in. It's kind of tricky to get in, but it will go in. Don't freak out or anything. This is just me putting my pulley, or my brother putting the pulley back on, but just don't worry about the earlier part. And then you're going to put your tool against the other side of your frame, the passenger side, and then you're going to go ahead and torque it down. Again, the torque specs are in the factory service manual, but I believe it's around 200 feet per pound. Make sure to remember to bolt your dipstick back up, and then put all your pulleys back on and your tensioners. Make sure your tensioners are loose, or you will have trouble getting your belts back on. So you go around the top pulley, around the bottom pulley, then around your alternator. So your alternator is able to move. And here there's a tensioner on this side where the power steering fluid is. That's able to move as well, so you get your slack out of that. Reinstall your fan first. It was bolted up by the 4 bolts earlier, and then on the bottom you're going to go ahead and tighten the lower belt up on the tensioner. Reinstall your fan shroud. You're going to put that back together. There's the 2 clips that go on, and then the 1 clip in the middle. And then you're going to put that against your fan for now, and then you're going to go ahead and reinstall your radiator. And the radiator is held on again by the 4 bolts that are kind of hidden. So then this is a video of those bolts. One of the passenger side I cut out so to save time, because I don't want to be repetitive, but basically you get the idea. So you just tighten those back up, put your fan shroud back onto your radiator, and then connect all your hoses back on, put the clips back on. Before you fill your radiator with radiator fluid, go ahead and fill your engine block with radiator fluid. You feed it through the top radiator hose, and it goes into your engine block. Right now, what you're going to do is you put back your radiator hose, put back that clip, and then you're going to make sure everything's put back together nicely. Double check everything before you start your engine. Make sure all your hoses are plugged in. Make sure all your fluid is in, and then give it a test run. And if you're getting squeaks in your belts, loosen up your tensioners or tighten your tensioners. Just use trial and error to find out which ones are causing the sound. Also, you're going to want to put a bit of transmission fluid back into your engine if you have an automatic transmission. And your automatic transmission dipstick is where you fill your transmission. Located in the back side of your engine. Alright, so that's it, guys. So that's how you do a timing belt and water pump on a 5vz-fe engine. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at safetydang@gmail.com, or you can send me a private message on t2ra.com.